Well, today I'm going to do some drawing with Sanguine in the Renaissance tradition on a Renaissance paper with no name, nameless paper. But anyway, it's a paper that was actually being made during the Renaissance, Michelangelo and Leonardo. So that's what I'm going to show you. And I'm also going to give you a quick tour of the studio and show some of my drawings on the wall behind me here. Yes, here we are in my studio again, and I'm going to give you a quick little tour around the place so you can see what it's all about. This is a full working studio, teaching studio. This is a lot of my work back here. These are some of what I'm going to be teaching today. The Sanguine technique. This happens to be on a panel, but here's another one on a panel. I'm going to be working on a laid paper, tone paper.
Can you explain for people who might not know what Sanguine is? Would you explain that?
Yeah, this is a well, I'm going to explain all the materials when I sit down to draw, but I've got several varieties of Sanguine material. But it's a red chalk that they used in the Renaissance a lot. And Michelangelo used it for all of his drawings for his frescoes. And it's just a beautiful medium that I've become very, very fond of. So as you can see, all the Socrates, all the usual suspects. Here's a TV. We do a lot of slide presentations at our workshop. Our little company store here. Here we have our friend with all of her little landmarks on her hair, and we'll get a nice panoramic of the studio here so you can kind of see. We have a raised stage, and it's 360. It probably is the only 360 stage in the DFW area. This certainly is the best facility in the DFW area for teaching figure drawing and portraiture and anatomy, for that matter.
Now, tell me a little bit about that, Michael. Do you have regular ongoing classes? Do people sign up for a full course, or do they become members? What's that all like?
Well, I have two different programs. One is an open studio that goes on at the same time as my mentoring program, and obviously the open studio, they can come and draw without instruction, or they can pay a little bit more, and I teach. So there's two different groups. Now here's our board that I use. I've got a massive blackboard here that I use for
your famous blackboard.
Yeah, I use for teaching my workshops. This stuff is all done from imagination. And these two guys, I need to get them out more for a meal, but they've been hanging with me for a long time as well. And this is where I'm going to draw from today. I have a massive mess of supplies over here that I have collected over the years. I have more art supplies probably than any man alive, So I think I can say that probably with some validity.
Well, if you just bought one thing a year for every year of your life, you'd have more than any man alive.
This is true. So I often draw drawings from paintings, or I do paintings from drawings. It's makes the selection process more challenging. So I'm not trying to duplicate anything, really. I'm just trying to interpret it. And usually in a drawing like this, even though that's a Van Dyke drawing and he was pretty damn good, I will try to even make my character stronger than that drawing. Fession is famous for really adding a lot of character to his portrait work. If you really see the people that Festion was actually drawing, he really emphasized if somebody had larger ears, he overemphasize that a little bit. So didn't take away from the drawing. I mean, they're great drawings, but he just put a lot more character in it. Even Sargent put more character into his work than people realize. So let me lay my key down here and get started.
All right. I want to remind you guys that we have a Fine Art Connoisseur subscription available. If you leave a comment, and we'd like to see where you're watching from, we will sometimes call out people from all over the world who are watching. So tell us where you're watching from. A lot of people already. Now, how do people find your studio if they're in Dallas or they want to come to Dallas and study with you? It's michaelmentler.com. Is that correct? Or is there another?
There's a michaelmentler.guru.
Really? Okay.
That's for our newsletter. And there is a michaelmentler.com as well.
Okay. And then tell me about the name of the school.
What's the Society of Figurative Arts?
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, so what I've done here, this is a tone paper, and this particular company was founded in 1264. So it was around when all of these folks were around. I started out with unsharp material to lay all this in, and then I dust it down. I like this little shaving brush I use a lot to dust these down, and this creates a patina on the paper, and then I can go back in and start pulling out some lights. I start with the nose. I'm famous for saying the nose is a great place to hang a face. I didn't actually come up with that. That's something that I've graciously stolen from Charles Bragg.
So you're using an eraser right now?
I'm using an eraser. I use an eraser a lot as a drawing tool to pull out my lights. And you'll see how it starts to make these things very dimensional very, very quickly. And sometimes I just kind of rough up the whole area. And these lace things are kind of fun. On doing this lace stuff, really, instead of trying to mimic everything that's there, what I try to do is understand how these folds are made, going back and forth. So if I were actually making them, how I would be bending these flutes around and just giving an impression of that.
Well, there's a whole course you could take just on doing folds.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So this is like I say, I use these drawing sticks to start with, and then I use these Cretacolor. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned the name. I use these.
You can mention the name. We have no problem with that.
Yeah, yeah. So I use all the usual suspects from, all the big names, so Sennelier and Rembrandt and all those guys. But this is a dry Cretacolor. So I always go back to the nose. Most people don't know that the nose actually opens up there, that there's not actually a line there.
Can we see if we could get the camera closer? I know it's tough because it's over your shoulder. That's so much easier. Yeah, thank you.
So it's a selection process. You don't really, master draftsmen really don't try to put in everything that they see. As a matter of fact, I really don't refer to that a whole lot after the initial lay-in. And, I will get not an exact likeness, but I will try to emphasize. I don't even view exaggerate as a bad word. Let's come in here and build a couple. If you build a couple of these and make them very believable, half your work's done.
In other words, you don't have to render them all. You just have to render a couple of them so that the brain kind of fills in the rest.
That's correct.
Now talk to us about the value of copying old masters.
Well, what they taught in the Renaissance workshops, how Leonardo and Michelangelo learned is that they worked from their master's works. I need a drink of water here. They worked from their master's works and from other master's works that were in their master's collection. They learned what I would call aspective views of things. In other words, if they were doing a figure, they would learn from memory a dozen or so different poses. Once Michelangelo did the Sistine ceiling, the world changed, because before that it was a very limited number of poses that these guys worked with. So each time I go through this, it adds a little bit more of the patina. You can see the kind of laid finish there. You can actually rub some of that in to the finish if you want. But the advantage of working on these laid papers, I know a lot of people these days use these straighter or smoother papers because they photograph well for Facebook and Instagram. The problem is they're not as graphic in person. So this type of paper allows you to really pull out little highlighted areas.
So are you saying it's got a lot of tooth to it?
Yeah, it's got a laid finish. You see this linear finish, and this all the papers in the most of the papers in the Renaissance, if they were made, had this kind of a finish. So.
What kind of paper is that you're using?
Well, this is I'm glad you asked that, because Pierre would thank you. This is a Fabriano Roma. It's a handmade paper. It actually takes six individuals to manipulate the screens and everything to make this paper. It's rather expensive. It's not something you're going to be using it for everyday work.
Well, what people don't understand about Fabriano, I had lunch with the CEO and Pierre one time, and they have 3 different lines. So they have the line that you find in most of the art stores, which is still very, very good paper. Then they have another line that's a higher level than that. Then they have all the handmade papers, which are kind of reserved for people like you who really are, looking for the very, very finest. So
I wanted to show you this, and I really carve these lines rather than trying to really do delicate lines all the time. I go back and carve these lines down. I don't really use a sharpened instrument that much, particularly in the beginning. And here I've just used the Cretacolor, but here's another chalk that I like. This one you would have to go online to find. It's called Pippo's. P-I-P-O, Pippo. This is made to mimic how Conte used to feel many years ago, but you can see it as a darker consistency. And so now I can come in and clean up some of this detail. So what I'm trying to say is I use, in painting and in drawing, I use a material that's pretty broad in the beginning. And you got to watch not to have the eyes and ears start to expand. Ears, a third of the ears in shadow coming across here. So a lot of times I would just do a linear kind of hatching in in this stuff to get this kind of tone in there. Of course, your lips have tone in them. You've got a little light coming out from there. You can find the angle of the eyes from here. I can find that top lid, and I can find this top lid over here. So there's all kinds of little systems to get this stuff working for you. People underestimate these brows, but that gives you a lot of character.
Are you using a darker one now?
Yeah, I'm using a darker one. So what I started to say, the actual materials that they used in the Renaissance aren't even available anymore. Those sanguine. This is a mine. This is a stone. Sanguine is a mineral, and the original ones that Mike and Leo and the boys used, those have been extinct for years, and they would have several varieties of that stone, some softer, some harder, some dark, some light, and they would use, multiple elements. Now I like to break these lines with a little hatching from the eraser, and then go back in and clean it all up. So then once I've used this particular equipment, I also can now come in and use the white chalks to fill in some of this.
Can I ask the camera operator to try to get closer again, please?
Yeah, sure. Pick up a little bit here, pick up a little bit down here. And once again, I do a lot with erasers, so take a bunch out with a kneaded eraser. Also, there's another tool that I use, but I don't know where it went. A chamois, no. Oh, I use a chamois a lot of times to pull out value as well. As you can see, that it kind of cleans that up. And this saves your kneaded eraser a lot because you're getting a lot of the unnecessary chalk off of there on the chamois, so you don't have to use your kneaded eraser quite so much.
The question was that a pastel pencil for your white, or was that chalk?
Well, that's a Create-A-Color pastel pencil. So
Okay.
this actually is Faber-Castell, but Create-A-Color makes it. This is a Create-A-Color 5.6 millimeter lead, which I use a lot, and I like things in extenders a lot too. You don't initially, if you look at Peter Paul Prudhomme, for example, he was very, very loose in his initial laying of his lights. And of course, he ends up with pretty refined looking stuff. I like to break all of these things, all these lines up some.
Would you explain that to people, why you break things up?
Well, I just, I don't like things to feel like they have lines around them. There's nothing in nature that actually has a line around it. So I try to, for instance, here would be a little place right here that I would probably just let that go out of frame here. And there's another little technique that's called passage that you make things go in front of things. Like here, if I wanted this to go in front of that, I would just cut out a little chunk right there. I might cut out a little piece down here to let that go in front of that. And it's just giving you dimension. I like to find little points in the drawing that can be like little accents. Sometimes I would do, the Russians all do this. I will find where this is coming across and where this corner is right here. And I would even make like a little X maybe there. find out where the corner of that mouth is, make a little X there, make a little X there, make a little X there. So I'm just kind of, I would let this lace go behind his ear with that little break. It gives you more depth, So on something like this, this line belongs to his cheek. So this is going over the edge there, and there's something else. How much time I have, Eric? I want to show you a couple.
Oh, you got plenty of time.
Okay, so the important thing here to emphasize is that I kind of take this to a certain point, and people are going to groan because once I get some things going on here, then I would go back to my brush, take some of this stuff back, and start building it again. So each time I start building it, I'm going to go back with a little bit of more information on some of these key points, like this eyelid, for instance. I would see the inside of this. Now, this is a Carbofello chalk pencil. It's a little softer than some of the other stuff. But also,
what I have found, Michael, I'm curious your opinion on this, is I found in looking at a lot of old drawings and old paintings that the eyes are really a lot softer than our tendency is to make them.
Yes, they are. Because you have to remember that this is really in shadow. Okay, and people tend to forget that. And these do not mimic each other. And as a matter of fact, what people don't really do sometimes is leave that little bit of light in that eye. But you have to remember that there's an eye socket back here. So I always treat this like this guy's got like on little
Goggles.
Little aviator glasses like that. And I really soften this away eye quite a bit because I really don't want the focus there so much. But here I need to emphasize this brow. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is I use several different kinds of pencils with several different colors of chalk in them. This happens to be and also a dark one that's made by General. So the old masters did this and used multiple layers of materials, and then you bring it back so it all looks like it all belongs together, and start the whole process over. So it's a building process. I wanted to show you here. One thing. Oh, people tend to think about drawing as using one type of media, but they often would take and go back in and create some stronger things. This is a blending tool that's basically water based, but you could come and really pick up some of these, rather than just relying on the chalk itself. You can pick up some of these more subtle. I could even come in here and kind of pick up some of this hatching for his beard. So,
you have a fun job.
Yeah. So it's not. It's a little strange. Have it go more dark over there. All right, need some light in there. So go back to my lights. I'll find my eraser here. There we go. There it is. Yeah, so I'm going to make this darker by making this lighter. A lot of times you deal with what's next to something to create the effect you want with that cheek. So this needs to be, I'll probably come back with some and once again, I'm back to the nose because this is really one of my key focal points.
So this Fabriano paper that you're using, is this something that you have to order? Is it something you can get in certain art stores?
It's really in short supply right now.
Yeah, everything is, seems to be.
This last batch I got from McPherson's, which supplies all the big stores, Blick and all the people. They only had 8 sheets,
Wow.
so I took them all. So unfortunately, they're not going to be available for a while.
Well, we're honored that you would use one of them today for us.
Yeah, well, this is a fourth of a sheet. I could tell you the cost. It's I think it's like $27, $29 a sheet.
Wow. Well, it must be worthwhile, otherwise you wouldn't spend it.
Well, I like it a lot.
So for people who can't get access to that, what would you recommend?
They make an Angra paper, and there's several brands of Angra paper out there that are pretty good. Hanemule makes a good one. Fabriano makes a good one. The Fabriano one right now, I'm trying to get them to, I know Jacques very well too, with Fabriano. I assume he's still the president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had lunch with him in Paris not too many years ago. They sponsored a really nice tour when he was with another paper company. A really nice tour of the Louvre, private tour at night. That was beautiful.
You get to hang out with all the big shots.
Or they get to hang out with me, one or the other.
Well, that's the right attitude.
Well, I have found that a lot of my peers respect my approach. There are some that are diametrically opposed to it, but
well, that's what makes the world go around.
it is. It certainly is. So, once again, this is what brings it all back to the same realm. I'm going to have to break this line up over here on this side. And I can kind of do that with this kind of hatching on this down plane here a little bit. We're going to build that up a little bit. Okay. It's kind of.
When do you do your life drawing classes? Is this frequently?
Well, we're doing them on Fridays right now, and they're Fridays from 10:30 to 1:30 or to 2:30. I'm sorry.
Anybody in the audience from Dallas or the Dallas area, say so in the comments.
Yeah, we didn't really have a whole lot of time to advertise for our folks. Uh, yeah, it's tsofa tsofa.com. That'll give them the information.
All right, and
TSO.
put it in the comments.
Okay. This is a shaving brush. There are all kinds of brushes that I've developed over the years. This is just a cutoff, softer kind of a brush. Uh, and all this is allowing me to do is to soften some of these harder lines that I don't want to come forward too much. And then it allows me the opportunity now to go back in and rebuild my highlights, where I want a lot of strength to come in the brow here, for instance. This I view, I often use the bathtub analogy. If you're laying in your bathtub or you're laying in the swimming pool and your head is submerged, and then you start to bring your head up out of the submerged area, then you're going to what you're going to see first is going to be your nose, your forehead, then your cheekbones. And so rather than relying too much on what I'm looking at over there, see, if I take that line out there, it's going to end here and it's going to start up back down there. So I don't really have to have it that much. So you use line where something is happening that you're fond of. And I've got another, this is something I think I bought back in the 80s. They don't make them anymore, but it's really kind of a nice little brass tool, because you have one of the credit color Sanguine on one end, and then you have the white on the other end.
So, yeah, I have one of those. I think actually you may have given me one.
I might have, yeah. I knew I used to have another one. So the nice thing then, if you have this, then you can come back in, and if you look at this actual painting, the real painting, I can't tell it from this, but this forehead is really heavily painted. And then not quite as much bridge there. And then here you would have an opportunity for a highlight. Here you would have a little bit of light. This is going to be more in shadow than I'm seeing it. So I'm going to pull this back some.
Hey, Michael.
Yep.
I need to take a quick break, but one thing I'd like you to do when we come back, if you wouldn't mind, is give us a little tiny demonstration on the points of the face. And I know you touched on it, but I think that's so important. And I know you go into depth in your video, and I'm not going to ask you to go into depth, but if you would do that when we get back, would that be cool?
That's great. Yeah, sure.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, we'll be right back. So our guest today is the great Michael Mentler. Obviously, you figured out that he's great already. He's incredible. He has a fabulous video. It's called Figure Drawing in the Renaissance Tradition. And there's so much to learn there. And he did such a great job. We even constructed a chalkboard for him in the studio so that he could do it. And it's something that you would get benefit of. But whether you're doing figures or portraits or otherwise, doing the figure drawing exercises are so important.
Okay, so we wanted to kind of pinpoint some of the points that I look for. I divide this head into 5 eyes, an eye between eyes, and that gives me my brow point over here. And then I know that I have this.
What do you mean 5 eyes? You said 5.
Yeah, well, the 5-eyed line is the art school. There's an eye between eyes. Okay, so I'm allowing for an eye to be there and an eye to be here, and then this eye takes me over to my ear. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
Well,
if
see,
I
there I learn something new every day. I didn't realize there was one eye distance to the
well,
ear.
and the old Leonardo dimension goes from the brow line to the hairline, one third to the bottom of the nose, and one third to the chin. Of course, this guy's got a little bit of beard under here, so we're going to deal with that. But here's what I do a lot of, as I will put this temporal bone in there and come around and find the edge of this eye socket, and then the top of the zygmatic arch. Then I come down here and find the bottom of the zygmatic arch. So I understand all of these muscle groups underneath here. Of course, then I have my big master muscle and my jawbone coming down. And then this is what I call the Francis McDermott muscle that comes around here and comes up and forms these pillars underneath this jawbone. So this is how, some of the initial lay-in that I would do to make this all work. And of course, you have a brow up here that does this, and then this kind of comes up and cuts that off, and then this kind of goes around your top of your eye socket, and then this divides like so, comes back around, comes back down. So I know this whole structure of this head, and so did this guy, because they studied all of this.
And you go through all of that in your video. You go through a lot of that depth.
Yes. Yeah. And, once again, I want to emphasize that these guys worked from master drawings and master paintings a lot more than they did from nature. Leonardo is often misquoted as saying, go out and learn the lessons of nature. But then if you read the rest of it, it says, so you can take it back to the studio and utilize the information. Not to copy. It's not copying nature. You have the one school of thought, particularly you were talking about the site size thing, is that if you work site size accurately, that you can virtually draw anything. You can up to a point, but you can't do convincing sailing vessel unless you know how that is. All the rigging is tied, and all of the. I mean, you have to know a lot about something to be able to really draw it in an excellent manner. I need another sip of water. So, yeah, I like to take some of these areas and just randomly hatch through them. A lot of times I would do this with just the eyes and take them back and soften them. I might just pull off the side of this face to make that all kind of soften. So I hope this is helpful on some of how I work.
Michael, Angie Carter Coleman in the comments in Dallas for a few months so I could go to his school. Probably be the best investment you could possibly make, Angie.
Well, I have. You'd be surprised how far some people drive. I have them drive from all over Texas to come just take one session. But they come from all over the country for my workshops, of course. Actually, I have more people coming from like Minneapolis and Atlanta than I actually have coming from Dallas.
Well, there's that old thing about it's the consultant's rule, right? They can't be smart enough if they're in our own town, but if they're in another town, they're smarter. The further away they are, the smarter they are.
Yeah, I know people that don't buy any art in Dallas, but they buy Dallas artists in New York. It's bizarre.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Can you please tell what kind of erasers you're using other than the kneaded eraser?
Well, this one is interesting. I happen to like it because it doesn't leave much residue, and it's a boxy eraser, and it comes square. But you see, you keep cutting it off with an X-Acto knife, and I really like this eraser better than the kneaded eraser, because the kneaded eraser, after a time, will pick up your um, the oil in your hands. So and of course, these white guys. I mean, I just happen to like the black ones because that looks dirty. So you think I just like the black ones because they seem to work better. But once again, I do this kind of weird thing where I will go through and
Well, it makes it feel, it gives it energy when you do that.
well, it builds some patina to it,
Yeah.
and I'm allowing forms to move out of other forms. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You're talking a lot.
But it is this kind of a layering process that you're building this up kind of gradually. And this again is the Pippo stuff, which is darker. I'm not doing it today, but a lot of people buy the Create-A-Color sets, and they have dry and oil-based chalks in them, and they will usually just use the dry chalks, but I don't happen to have one available here, but now you want to make sure that ear overlaps the back of that head right there, because those overlaps are what gives you the dimension. And then here's what I'm calling the passage, or passage, as we say in Texas. This kind of lets that go out over that back edge a little bit. And here I would find that cheekbone, and I might have create a little bit of a terminator line going back into there. And his whole face is ruddier down here than his forehead. And of course his nose, except for that slight highlight. So I would come in now, and probably if I was finishing up, I would come in and use a harder chalk up in here. That's a little too creamy. I'm going to
Creamy.
Yeah, I'm gonna soften it slightly with this.
The question is, did the paper start as yellow or did you tone it yellow?
No, it comes. This is called a Raffaello, a Raphael really, but Raffaello in Italian. These little guys are from Rembrandt, and they're like little micro sets, and they come in various grays, and and so you can still kind of feel like this is in the range. What you're gonna do?
Family color. Awesome. Well, Michael, why don't you come back on camera? I know there's a lot more you could do, but come back on camera so everybody can meet you if they didn't see you.
Sure.
The question was, do you ever use an electrical eraser?
I have some. I haven't used them lately, but I do have a couple of them at home. This is just one of my studios.
Well, Well, Michael, thank you so much for being on today. I think we learned a lot. I know I did, and it was fun to see that come together and see how all the different things you did to it to kind of mess with it and give it that texture and that energy and that feel. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to Realism Live. Have you got any idea what you're going to teach on Realism Live?
Yes, on Realism Live, what I'm going to do is, oh, you want me to look up? On Realism Live, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a velatura. It's actually, I'm going to start with some of the Sanguine materials, but I'm going to work on a panel, a very, very smooth linen panel. And a velatura, I start out with the Sanguine, and then I build it up into it's really a way to do a monochromatic painting, but you're just using the one color,
Uh-huh.
and then the one color plus white, and it's all going on directly on the canvas. And it's like the little one I picked up at the very beginning that I held up when we were doing the tour. But I'm going to do one, considerably larger than that. So, and I would do that from the beginning, so you can see the whole, obviously my whole system structure.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I want to encourage everybody to look through the comments for Michael's websites and the school and all the different things that he's got going on, and also check out that video, which is just fabulous, Michael. Thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for being on today, and thumbs up and applause for Michael Mentler, and get to Dallas and go to one of his workshops. I think you'll get a lot out of it. I know I would. I might just do that, Michael. I might see you up there soon.
Great. Love to have you.